and we'll see how all of these things that I have mentioned to you are described in the history of Spain. And I will start off with 643 after Hijrah. That is approximately 255 years before the fall of Spain. In Spain, we have different rulers at that time. 643 after Hijrah, Spain has been broken up into different rulers. The Muslims are being ruled by different rulers. Granada has a ruler, and Seville has a ruler, and so every major city over there at that time has different rulers. Why? Because they just couldn't be together. They couldn't keep the rulers at that time had too much love for power, and so they broke up. So we have this man by the name of Ibn al-Ahmar. Ibn al-Ahmar, this is just a laqab, this is just a title that was put for him. His father was not al-Ahmar. He himself had very red skin, and that's why they used to call him al-Ahmar. Ibn al-Ahmar, the son of the red man. And he himself was who was reddish in color, and he was the ruler of Granada in the year 643 after Hijrah. This man, he made a pact with Fernandez III, who was a ruler of Setilla at that time, Setilla at that time. And he made a pact with him upon four things. The ruler of Setilla at that time, Fernandez III, he made a pact with Ibn al-Ahmar upon four things. The first thing was that he would pay jizya to the Christian. That the Muslim would pay jizya to who? To the Christian. The second thing he said was that he would not fight him ever. So jihad was forbidden against the Christians. Right? Imagine this. Wallahi, this is how we will be applying them to our current situation as well. Aren't we paying jizya to the disbelievers now? Yes or no, guys? We are, but of course we call it something else. We call it, what do we call it? We call it debt. We call it servicing the debt. We call it subhanallah, helping them with the cost of the battles that they fought on our behalf. You know, subhanallah, but this is jizya, isn't it? At least those Muslims in Andalusia, they were at least, honest enough to own up that they're actually paying the jizya to the Christians. Okay, so jizya they would pay, and so jihad against those crusaders of the army of Fernandez was forbidden. And also the third thing with that was that Al-Ahmar would give up a lot of his land, and the last thing was that Al-Ahmar would use his Muslim armies, his Moorish armies, in order to attack whatever enemy that Fernandez decided to, whatever place Fernandez decided to attack. And what do you think Fernandez attacked the first? He attacked the Muslims, obviously. Who would he attack? He wouldn't attack the Christians. So the first person he attacked after he made this pact with the leader of Granada was that he attacked Seville, which was a Muslim city at that time, which is in Arabic known as Al-Ashbiliya. Ashbiliya was a place that he attacked the first. Ashbiliya was the first place that he attacked. And the armies that actually laid a siege to Al-Ashbiliya were the Muslim armies, led by Al-Ahmar. So Al-Ahmar was attacking his own brothers, his own Muslim brothers, in order to help their Christian friend against his Muslim brother. And he laid a siege for 15 months until Ashbiliya gave up, and then they went in, they raped the women, they killed the men, they killed children, and they told the people to leave the city. They told the Muslims who were there to leave the city. There were 400,000 in number. They banished 400,000 Muslims, and these Muslims, of course, went back to Morocco, or basically went back to Maghreb, because they had nowhere else to go. Look at this. What is amazing, brothers and sisters in Islam, is not only did Ibn al-Ahmar attack his own Muslim brothers, but also his army. His army. Yani, alaysa fikum rajulun rashid? Isn't there a righteous man amongst them? Isn't there a righteous man amongst them? It was his army. How could he attack if his army didn't want to attack? But he and his army, all of them attacked. SubhanAllah. So not only was he corrupt, but also he was corrupt. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, and He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Verily, Allah does not change the state of a person until they change their own state. So wallahi, Allah did not say over here that Allah will not change the situation of the believers or of the Muslims until they change the hukam. No, Allah said until they change themselves. So wallahi, because they were bad, their hukam was also bad. Because the people were bad, their hukam was also bad. And because we are Muslimin are so low in our iman, and if you look at the umum al-Muslimin, the general Muslimin, that is why our rulers are also the same. You can't expect them to be better. If we were better, then wallahi our rulers would be better. But because we are so low in our iman, we have left our religion so much, that is why our rulers are also the same. And that is why Ibn al-Ahmar was no better than the people who he was leading. Until Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah, he mentions in Tarikh al-Baghdad that the people of Garnata at that time, even though they were the leaders of the world at that time, they had started to imitate the Christians. So the Muslim armies in Garnata, who was led by Ibn al-Ahmar, they used to wear their armor in the same way the Christians used to wear. The women in Garnata used to wear their hair in the same way the Christian women used to wear their hair. And it was truly amazing. People started to resemble the disbelievers little by little. And so obviously when you resemble them outwardly, then your inner heart also resembles them. And this is exactly what was happening with the Muslims. When they were outwardly resembling the kuffar, then truly that which was in their heart as well was resembling that which was with the disbelievers. So we find therefore that truly Ibn al-Ahmar was a truly evil man, and he took over Asbiliya in the name of the cross, and he killed Muslimin, and he killed lots of Muslims. He killed them, and the main mosque, subhanallah, the main mosque in Asbiliya, he is the one who erected a cross there. He actually erected a cross there in answer to his Crusader masters. Answering the call of his Crusader masters, he turned the main mosque in Asbiliya into a church. And this is Muslimin doing it, isn't it? Well, of course, this is enough for anyone to know that Ibn al-Ahmar was not a Muslim. Thereafter, one important point that we need to know, brothers and sisters in Islam, is that Ibn al-Ahmar, the reason why he was doing all of this is that he was too busy to worry about fighting. He would rather not fight the Crusaders. He would rather spend his time building beautiful jannat and beautiful palaces. And in his time, actually, Al-Hamra was built. As you know, Al-Hamra, which is the great palace in Garnata, which is a great palace and an example of magnificent architectural wonder. It truly deserves to be one of the great wonders of the world, and it is so beautiful and so great. Wallahi, I remember some of our teachers who had gone there, and they had pictured it and taken pictures of it. Wallahi, I saw eyes in the eyes of my tears in the eyes of our teachers. And they were crying when they saw how beautiful Garnata was, and how stupid and how silly we Muslims were to have actually let such a beautiful prize pass by us. How we could have let such a beautiful prize, which is a Jannah on this earth, pass by us. And at that time it was reported that Ibn al-Ahmar was too busy building gardens. And in his time, whilst the Muslims were being attacked, and whilst he was sending his armies in order to help the other disbelievers against other Muslimin, he was busy building libraries, and he was busy building mosques. And obviously mosques at that time were not properly used as mosques. They were splendid displays of architectural wonder. He was busy building jannat, as they used to call every garden a jannah, because of how beautiful they were. They would actually dig up canals, dig up rivers, man-made rivers that would flow through these jannat in order to beautify it. And they would, subhanAllah, make man-made islands inside these rivers in order to beautify it. Can you imagine what he was doing? He was busy doing this, and in his time, whilst the Muslims were being attacked, he built 300 like these jannat. 300 gardens. You don't need 300. How many do you need? How many do you need? Will he ever visit them in his life? And he built 300 whilst the Muslims were in such a state. We come to in the year 671 after Hijrah. And at that time, the King Fernandez III had died, and he had given his place to Alfonso X. And Alfonso, he was a very, very evil man, and he would constantly break the treaties. As you know, the Crusaders, as you will notice throughout our lecture today, you will notice that the Christians always broke the treaties. They would always constantly break the treaties, and the Muslims were silly enough to not even realize that they were breaking the treaties, and they would make a pact again. And in that pact, they would say, you have to give us X number of land, and they would give him. And then again they would break the treaties and break the treaty in order to make another treaty again. And in this way it continued, subhanAllah, for a number of years, until we come to the year 671, in which Alfonso X, he was